What? Come on, boy. All right, what's going on, fellas? Just finished up my little assistance work circuit at the end of my log press day. As you just saw, I hit a new triple PR with 300 pounds on the Viper press, which only a couple maybe a month or two ago was the first time I hit 300 on a Viper press. So really stoked with the progress we're making there. Admittedly, it sounds a lot better than it is because I just hadn't really trained Vipers in the past, and I thought it would be a fun challenge for myself to attempt to do the log ladder in my coming show as Viper presses. Obviously, Viper pressing is a faster technique, but I also just thought it would be a cool challenge because it sounded in the realm of doable, but hard, which gets me excited to train for it. Just finished up my my assistance work, kind of giant set that I do on this session, just kind of do them in like a circuit fashion just to save time because I got a lot of coaching to do today. But I had a little rant. You're gonna have to pardon me for being winded. Pardon me if this is a little incoherent, but it's something I was talking to Kirsten about the other day. It's something I've mentioned on the channel. Definitely a running theme that fitness content is redundant. I know everybody has said it. It's not anything I'm observing for the first time ever. Definitely other people have come up with this, but I don't think that's a problem. Other people say, oh, everybody's got to end up remaking videos. And it's like, if I like the personality of the person I'm watching, maybe they put a little bit different spin on it based on what they're exploring in their lifting at that time. I don't mind the redundancy of videos because usually what I need to do to get better is be continually reminded and renew my efforts on things I first heard 10 years ago. So I don't mind it, but this just comes down to me telling you to make a plan. If I talk to people at the gym, even people who are pretty serious about their powerlifting, and they say, oh, my bench is bad. It's like, a lot of the time they haven't come up with a plan to attack it, right? A badly written plan executed with your best intensity is going to give you miles better results than no plan at all. Like a bad plan outperforms no plan every single time. And everybody I talk to is kind of in one of three different conundrums, it seems like. They're either in this infinite planning phase where they need to research more and more before they begin any plan. And it's like the best research you can do is find just a jumping in point that sounds decent to you. Give it your wholehearted effort. Don't change it for a month or two, and then assess where it was falling short. And then now you're a lot more informed on what research needs to be done, what adjustments need to be made, but you need to jump in before you think you have it fully understood, because the only way to fully understand it is to jump in. And I'm very guilty of this myself with like some of the stuff I've been playing around with my conditioning. I wanted to feel like I was an expert before I started, but I just did my cursory, we got the internet, there's no excuse not to do some research, but I did my cursory jump into it. I read. I'm like, okay, this sounds like the most fun of these. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna see how it affects my recovery. Does it improve my recovery? Is the approach I selected too aggressive and it's biting into my recovery, and adjust from there? And that was the only way I could actually start learning about it firsthand, because you can have great, I have a exercise physiology degree. A bunch of my classmates had very good textbook knowledge, but I wouldn't trust them to be a personal trainer because they just don't really have much expertise in actually engaging with it, and there's kind of understandings that come with it that I think ideally we have both, but lacking that personal experience to know what things feel like, I think you can't really get around that. So first of all, people get stuck in this infinite planning phase because they want to feel like they know more before they attempt it, because they're embarrassed to not know what they're doing or something. The second thing I notice is just constantly changing plans. You've heard me bitch about this a lot. I'll spare you me going into it too much, but if we switch between a million things that all individually would work, but we switch between them too rapidly, none of those million valid things will work. So just find a plan that sounds decent, commit to it for an extended period, and then use your kind of intellect and your questioning and your curiosity, not to change the plan and find out if there's something better that you could be doing, but how to better do the plan without changing it. And then the third kind of most common one is people just don't have a plan. They're like, oh, my bench sucks. And it's like, well, do you have something you're going to try to fix it? And they're like, not really. They can't articulate to me a plan. It's like, well, then why would it ever stop sucking? You know, if you're just like the guy who's always whining in his caption about, oh, I've got a poverty bench. Come up with a plan. A bad plan, if you really get after it, will probably get you at least a little bit better. And then you'll have more info on how to make a better plan to keep getting better. So it's like, I had an athlete who was having trouble with her bar path on the bench. And it's like, do I have a guaranteed surefire, this accessory fixes this for sure? No, but I'm informed enough that I took a stab at it. And we've run through it this first block and it worked. It's not the perfect plan. I'm more than happy to admit that, but it worked. And then we can refine it as it needs to be refined to get better and better and better. But we can almost get newbie gains by just getting after it, right? If you just said, yeah, Sam, I bench twice a week. My bench is stalled. My plan is just to add a third day. Cool, that sounds like a great plan. If you say, I'm gonna keep benching twice a week, but I'm gonna do 3, 4, 5 sets of dumbbell bench after each session to get in more volume, and that'll probably work. Like, all of these different plans, heavy-handed plans work as long as they don't hurt you. So sometimes you can just throw the kitchen sink at something, but come up with a fucking plan. You know, and there's a reason I'm ranting about this. Usually the things I rant about, the reason I'm mad is because I keep fucking it up. And, you know, there's like small nuances to being a better strongman. It's like, oh, I'm not good at this. I don't have a fucking plan to fix it. Of course I'm bad at it. Like, come up with a plan, write it on the whiteboard, give it hell for 2 months, and then adjust that plan to be better and better. But come up with a plan. Don't just be like, yeah, I know I'm bad at this and I'm not doing anything about it. Come up with a plan. It's a little bit of work, but you know, it's like we're in the gym for X hours a week anyway. We may as well put in that little bit of extra work to get more out of it. So that's my rant. Thank you for watching my video. Stoked with the Viper Press coming along. Just one thing I forgot to mention there. When I was talking to Kirsten about it, or the example was Kirsten's focused more on bodybuilding now. She's still working on the 2-plate bench because she wants to do it. It's kind of like my 600. It's maybe not relevant to her main goal, which is bodybuilding, but she would be kicking herself because she knows she's capable of it. Let's just get it done. You know, that way we can always look back and be like, yeah, I did that, you know? So she's keeping getting after that. Most of her training revolves around bodybuilding. And she was like, man, I wish my biceps were bigger. And I was like, well, what are you doing for biceps? And she kind of described like a haphazard, when I have energy type plan. And it's like, oh, you don't have a plan. So we had her come up with a plan. I was like, hey, come up with a plan. And she's like, well, what should I do? Like, implying I should write the plan for her and then she'll do it. And I was like, I want you to just come up with a plan. Biceps are simple. It's a hinge joint. If we're doing that elbow flexion through a full range of motion against resistance, and we're going close to failure, we're putting in sets a week, just about everything works pretty similarly. So I was like, hey, no, you come up with a plan and write it down, and then we're just gonna do it. And she's like, okay, well, 3 days a week, I'm gonna hit about 4 sets at the end of each of my upper days, and just committed to that. And it's like, is that the perfect plan? Are there evidence-based, like, oh, we could be putting this muscle in a more lengthened position by doing incline curls instead? There's all of these things we could say, sure, but just putting that plan in place, she's seen phenomenal gains for her biceps by just committing to a formal plan rather than this loose structure in your head that gives you way too much flexibility.